Remember third grade when fractions first attacked? We stared at pies divided wrong, hearts racing because one slip meant failure forever. And that teacher who made one wrong answer feel like your entire future crumbled? Public humiliation burned deeper than any equation. Art let us explore, math demanded perfection first try. No wonder creative brains recoiled from rigid rules that punished curiosity. High school turned math into memory torture. Memorized 50 formulas while friends lived. Our brains begged for movement, not motionless drudgery. Now dinner tabs paralyze us because school taught computation, never real-world math survival skills we actually needed. Every wrong guess became social death. Risk-taking curiosity died when embarrassment outweighed learning from mistakes. Time tests measured speed, not understanding. Anxiety hijacked prefrontal cortex right when deep math thinking needed calm reflection. Visual spatial brains excelled drawing maps, struggled abstract symbols. Schools forced one math language when our brains spoke pictures. Cheating became survival because failing openly destroyed social standing. Understanding math mattered less than passing appearance. All-night cramming encoded wrong neural pathways. Rote memorization survived. Conceptual understanding never took root properly. Word problems buried math in English comprehension battles. Visual thinkers drowned in paragraphs hunting one crucial number. Teachers rewarded only their way solving. Creative problem solving got zeros while robotic procedures earned gold stars consistently. Real-life measuring taught ratios intuitively until abstract X replaced concrete cups, disconnecting math from physical reality forever. Graphing calculators became black magic boxes. We punched buttons without understanding underlying math transformations happening inside. Geometric construction felt like art mastery until coordinate geometry turned beautiful shapes into soulless XY number prison.
I got x equals 3! Stop that cheating right now!
We learned math as solitary suffering instead of social skill shared joyfully. Hands-on probability experiments revealed patterns beautifully until formulas replaced discovery with sterile memorization rituals. Concrete visualization made area intuitive until letters replaced physical slices, severing connection to tangible reality completely. 80% of brains excel at visual spatial pattern recognition naturally. Symbol manipulation felt alien to the majority wired for pictures, not variables. Physical money counting built number sense slowly. Digital dollars vanished, leaving arithmetic floating abstract. Algorithm discovery through blocks felt natural until schools mandated one true way long division, killing computational intuition. Euclidean proofs felt like logic puzzles until calculus infinitesimals shattered concrete geometry foundation completely. Practical spacing built spatial intuition until imperial metric conversion nightmares destroyed hands-on measurement confidence. Domino physics taught equality naturally until algebraic manipulation felt like arbitrary symbol-pushing rules. Physical stacking built volume understanding until VLWH formula replaced concrete blocks with abstract letters. Real gambling odds hooked probability intuition until theoretical exercises felt disconnected from gambling applications. Human brains evolved visual concrete thinking 200,000 years. Abstract symbols appeared only 5,000 years ago, feeling unnatural. Escalator timing games taught rates playfully until classroom worksheets turned motion into mathematical misery. Physical construction taught angles perfectly until trig tables replaced intuitive right triangle understanding. Music counting felt rhythmic natural until music theory notation confused innate beat pattern recognition. Doubling recipes taught ratios perfectly until school worksheets disconnected practical cooking math reality. Shadow puppet angles taught geometry joyfully until formal proofs turned exploration into rigid ritual. Real gas mileage taught efficiency until school formulas felt disconnected from actual pump dollars. Visual cortex consumes 60% brain processing power naturally. Symbol manipulation starves underused neural pathways. Block towers taught stability physics perfectly until equations replaced physical trial-error learning. Basketball shooting tracked probability naturally until classroom statistics felt disconnected sports reality. Oven timing taught precision naturally until Fahrenheit Celsius tables confused practical temperature intuition. Set to fuse practical temperature intuition. Wait, what's 350 in Celsius again? Jump rope timing mastered rhythm perfectly until graphing coordinates felt alien spatial disconnect. Paint by number constrained creativity like math proofs constrained logic. Both felt like freedom stolen. 300,000 years visual concrete survival. 5,000 years abstract symbols overwhelmed evolved pattern brains. Beach dollars divided fractions perfectly until worksheets turned natural division into symbol nightmares. Gaming mastered coordinates spatially until analytic geometry forced unnatural number manipulation. Kitchen scales taught precise measurement until school tables confused practical weighing intuition. Ear training mastered harmony naturally until music theory worksheets confused intuitive chord progressions. Kaleidoscopes taught transformations beautifully until geometry theorems disconnected visual rotation intuition. Block towers taught patterns architecturally until algebraic nth term rules felt like arbitrary symbol prisons crushing intuition. Street parking mastered spatial geometry perfectly until classroom proofs demanded unnatural symbolic justification for obvious truths. Pasta timing taught rates naturally until word problems buried motion math in comprehension nightmares drowning intuition. Marble ramps taught projectile physics thrillingly until formulas replaced playground discovery with sterile calculation rituals. Perfect jump shots traced parabolas naturally until equations disconnected physical beauty from mathematical abstraction. Visual cortex parties with 90% brain power naturally. Algebra's symbolic cortex stayed dark, starved, and frighteningly unfamiliar. Beach moats taught fluid dynamics perfectly until equations overwhelmed simple water flow intuition completely. Recipe doubling taught proportions naturally until worksheets turned kitchen intuition into symbol manipulation hell. Gaming conquered spatial transformations until matrix multiplication felt like alien language for familiar moves. 40,000 years visual cave art mastery. Algebra born 500 years ago felt like newborn language to evolved brains. Sundial shadows taught trigonometry intuitively until tables replaced sunlight discovery with memorized number lookup. Spice balancing taught ratios perfectly until chemistry stoichiometry confused culinary precision intuition. Crowd waves taught vector addition naturally until classroom arrows felt disconnected from living motion harmony. Kite flying mastered vector components until school diagrams disconnected physical wind intuition completely. Dance mirrors taught symmetry groups naturally until abstract notation overwhelmed physical pattern mastery. Visual processing races 120-mile highways effortlessly. Symbolic math crawled single construction lane painfully. Block bridges taught engineering statics perfectly until equations replaced physical trial-error learning completely. Roast timing taught instantaneous rates until calculus limits confused practical temperature intuition forever. Skate tricks mastered momentum conservation until equations disconnected physical airtime intuition.
Puddle reflections taught symmetry transformations until matrices turned natural mirror play into symbol torture.
Visual brains ran Ferrari engines naturally. Algebra demanded rusty bicycle chains most never learned to ride. Court geometry mastered spatial intuition until coordinate proofs demanded unnatural number justification. Double boilers taught heat gradients perfectly until calculus PDEs overwhelmed practical temperature intuition. Swing pushing taught harmonic motion until equations disconnected physical timing intuition completely. Choreography mastered spatial transformations until geometry theorems confused physical movement intuition. 2 million years visual survival mastery. Algebra symbols felt like newborn language to cave-evolved brains. Roux perfection taught chemical kinetics until rate laws confused culinary timing intuition forever. Bicycle wheels taught angular velocity naturally until radians disconnected physical rotation intuition. Gaming conquered 3D coordinates spatially until classroom systems felt disconnected virtual mastery. Bread rising taught exponential growth perfectly until models confused practical fermentation intuition. Visual supercomputers wasted on symbol abacus tasks. Mismatch condemned generations to math suffering.
Tide pools taught fractal geometry until dimension formulas overwhelmed natural pattern beauty.
Skate ramps mastered parametric motion until equations disconnected physical airtime intuition. Caramel taught phase thermodynamics perfectly until diagrams confused practical temperature mastery. Spinning tops taught rigid body dynamics naturally until tensors overwhelmed physical spin intuition. Homo erectus spatial mastery 1.8 million years. Cartesian coordinates felt like alien implants to evolved brains. Three-pointers traced quadratics perfectly until vertex form disconnected physical arc intuition. Stock reduction taught concentration perfectly until molarity confused practical simmering intuition. Kite tails taught flight stability until dynamics disconnected physical wind intuition. Dance mastered rotation matrices spatially until linear algebra confused physical movement genius. NASA visual supercomputers wasted on Commodore algebra. Hardware-software mismatch doomed math generations. Soufflé taught gas expansion perfectly until ideal gas laws disconnected oven intuition. Bicycle gears taught ratios naturally until school simplification confused physical speed intuition. Gaming conquered spatial geometry until differential equations overwhelmed pattern mastery. Quantum visual computers forced using abacus symbols. Tragic mismatch wasted genius generations. Bread scoring taught fractal expansion until math disconnected physical crust artistry. Swing pushing taught phase locks perfectly until electronics confused physical timing intuition. Rail slides mastered surface math until parametric equations disconnected physical grind intuition. Glaze taught fluid dynamics perfectly until rheology confused practical coding intuition. Visual cortex dominance starved symbolic processing. Natural wiring mismatch condemned math phobia generations. Kite strings taught equilibrium until vector polygons disconnected physical flight intuition. Pick and rolls mastered circle geometry until theorems confused spatial chord intuition. Emulsions taught colloidal chemistry until HLB numbers overwhelmed practical whisking intuition. Tower physics taught stability analysis naturally until eigenvalues confused physical collapse intuition. Visual genius brains never hated math. Schools taught wrong language, reclaim spatial intuition, shatter symbol chains, embrace natural math mastery forever.